Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm TJP.
Back for more great content, folks. It's Wrestling Insiders, special edition. We're on the road in the Sunshine State. Brand new episode coming up now. Wrestling fans, Saturday night, May the 8th, MWF Studios gets extreme as ECW legend New Jack joins us for the very first time, taping episodes of Wrestling Insiders along with taking part in a live cyber autograph signing open to fans around the world. For more information on joining the three-time ECW Tag Team Champion for must-see TV, visit BostonWrestling.com and our social media platforms. Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It's all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now, available on eBay. The Undisputed Era kicked ass and took no prisoners in WWE NXT. Now you can own this limited edition collector's autographed art print personally signed by Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. Also signed by the original artist, Rob Schamberger, one of only 50 made direct from our friends at WWE. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome collectible for your collection now. Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome back. I am so happy to be here in the Sunshine State. I miss the background I have here at the studio, but this WrestleHouse is pretty cool. It's something different for us. It's a first in our almost 20 years that we're going to be celebrating this fall. But very happy to be having back a man whose episodes we taped quite a while back. They were just kind of introduced to the world, but the one, the only, TJP, TJ Perkins.
You know, I like the background that we have here. We got like some stuff like, I don't know everything that's being shown, but like, you know, we got like Andre and Macho and stuff.
Aren't those
like
cool?
That. Yeah.
That's WrestleMania 3.
It's not quite the wall that, you know, from the previous set, but...
No, it's certainly not any... I could not pack all of that up along with all the video equipment to try and take over someone's house who I've never even met.
I think the spirit is captured in the theme so far.
And where these episodes are going to be released along the lines of everything else, if you guys missed the 2 episodes with TJP that are available now, you've done yourself a disservice. Because of coronavirus, our entire release schedule got messed up, to be PC to say the least, but they were 2 excellent episodes. I forgot how much I liked them when I was re-editing them in the studio back home in Boston. Vicky Guerrero's episodes were great. Brian Pillman had a unique story, but TJ's story is just, you know, hopefully I'm not making you feel bad, but he's only a couple of years younger than me. I think we were both 13 when we got involved in wrestling. Yes. So, you know, I think even though I've never wrestled, you know, I think our lives growing up in it, you know, when we were young people and so on. So I always got a great vibe off of what we did, and then, again, reliving them when I edited them was, I just said we need to have him back, and because of the magic that is his world, even though he really wasn't doing much with the Fanfests and the independent events and so on WrestleMania weekend, he was able to fit us into his busy schedule. So I thank you for that.
No, it's my pleasure. I was trying to take the week off.
And look at where you wound up.
But you know, the one message I got asking me if I could be around, that I said yes I would, was yours. So I'm happy to do it.
That, I tell you this, if that was the one message you got, your heart must have been broken, because there's a lot of better messages.
No, I got.
Oh, you had other requests,
messages.
but you said yes to us.
You're the only one I replied to.
Oh, see why I like you? We're both Virgos, September babies. Oh, are you a Virgo?
I am, yeah.
So we're a little fucked, I guess.
I've heard that the star alignment is up for debate now. Like there's like a new idea of where they're supposed to be. So somebody told me that I'm technically a new age Leo, maybe. Oh. Because maybe they fall slightly different than originally thought. But traditionally, yeah, I'm a Virgo.
People have told me part of my level of insanity in my life is because I'm a solstice baby. I'm on the day summer turns to fall.
Yeah.
So that, I guess, adds even more to it. So I don't know. I don't know enough about astrology.
My personality is very Virgo, though.
I'm the same way. So that's probably why
quiet, diligent, and a nomad. And so, yeah.
I get loud when I get frustrated, though. See, I did take 2 Valium before we started, because I was ready to have a nervous breakdown. For the fans at home that missed the behind-the-scenes fun, last night on my way here to Tampa, I left my computer on the plane, which had everything for every interview for every person of the 9 that were joining us here in Tampa. And just as I thought I had that all sorted out, as I drifted to bed around, 3 a.m. to get prepared for our first interview, about 10, we ran out of memory cards. And when I went to Walmart to go and get the memory cards, between there and here, my wallet went missing. So it's just been a plethora of enjoyment here in the Sunshine State. But again, more great content coming your way. TJ, you have had a unique experience. You've been here, there, and everywhere since you've left WWE, as we've documented. But, you know, like all of us, we weren't expecting something called coronavirus to hit and really disrupt every aspect of our world in a lot of senses.
Yeah.
For you, as someone that, even though you have been working full-time in various promotions, to not have a guaranteed contract in any of those companies, did that unnerve you?
I mean, I think I gave up being unnerved a long time ago.
You face bigger battles in this city.
I think you got to look at things that way. You know, you can't worry. A few different peers of mine had reached out for advice for different reasons recently, and all of them, in some form, kind of came back to them being nervous or anxious about whatever they were doing. And in each case, I told them, look, like worrying and anxiousness, I mean, it's not gonna do anything for you. It's not gonna help you. If you're worried about making a mistake or something bad happening, that's gonna happen whether you're worried or not. And you being worried might cause it to happen, so it might be detrimental to you. But you can you can handle whatever with the most confidence in the world, and those mistakes might still happen. So what's the point of being worried? Is what I tell people. You know, Van Wilder, worrying's like a rocking chair. It'll give you something to do, but it won't get you anywhere. I live by that, you know. So no,
I need to get that, like similar to what you have on your arm, tattooed in my brain, because I worry too much about absolutely everything. And like you said, things are going to go wrong anyway. I didn't wake up today thinking the wallet was going to go missing. I didn't get off the plane yesterday thinking I left my laptop on the computer. So
I can tell you, Tampa will bring Murphy's Law on you real quick.
As you learned and unfortunately had to live, but you can relive that in some of the prior episodes we have with TJP. But, I mean, how are things going right now? You're in Impact pretty much full-time. You're doing, I'm going to probably word it wrong, but the United States version of New Japan.
Yeah.
MLW you've been active in. I mean, you've been really all over the place.
Yeah, and there's other stuff in some other, you know, I think probably the same level of companies that be, you know, because of the scheduling, they haven't been able to get me started. New Japan would be probably over there too, but like visas and traveling is a little hard. So I mean, even some of the American guys that are under contract were stuck for a while.
Yeah.
So you know, that's part of how strong is the U.S. show. That's part of how that kind of took off is they had to they had to find ways to incorporate the guys who were stuck, you know. So we had like Jay White and Kenta and a lot of the U.S. guys, U.S.-based guys around, so that it helped that show on accident in a way. But yeah, you know, I got a lot of things going. I was just trying to do my due diligence on social media today and put out some kind of work message, like promote something, you know, and somebody had said they're really excited about Impact's move to Thursdays or back to Thursdays, and then they said, oh, I also like watching them on Friday, and so I was like, well, I guess I could promote all the shows I'm on, and I was like, man, potentially most weeks I could be on TV Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you know, from MLW, Impact, New Japan, and all that. So it's quite a full plate.
Which show is on Friday?
That's New Japan Strong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what channel are they on?
Let's see. Their most recent deal, they hooked up with Roku for some.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was their newest deal. And otherwise, their network, or I guess their network, New Japan World, their uploads are every Friday for the Strong shows. Yeah.
So once life gets back to normal, are you going to be heading back to the land of the rising sun, or are you going to stay here in the United States?
That's the plan. But you know, I don't think I'll be able to stay there full time. But I'm a junior, so they don't need the juniors full time usually. But
Come on now, look at who we're talking to right now.
well, I don't know. There is I've heard of some plans that might kind of have me a little bit more busy than I would otherwise have thought. But you know, I gotta be here more often. I got a little guy on the way.
You got the little
yeah.
TJP JR.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard. Now they have very small crowds right now in Japan. Am I right?
So yes and no. I think it kind of depends on venue size because they're capped at percentages. But man, I've seen some of the bigger venues. It just seems like they're damn near full.
Really?
They
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, I mean, I would probably say on average they're maybe half full. They're spaced out, and they're trying to, you know, be as organized. They're a lot more organized than we are.
Just about everywhere is.
But yeah, they have a capacity limit, but they've been working on that a little bit ahead of schedule of us. You know, smaller countries, so they were ahead of the curve a little bit.
For you to go over there, would you have to be classified as essential personnel, or?
Well, you know, I'm not sure how. You know, I don't know if it's just a U.S. thing that it's like essential workers sort of thing. Obviously, over here they've classified some type of performance art and news and things like that as like, you know, essential in terms of broadcasting and entertainment. I don't know how Japan classifies it, so I really think it's just more to do with their travel regulations. Because it's, for the most part, it seems like people can still kind of go and live their lives there. They just have, you know, minimal like curfews and you know, capacity limits and things like that. So I think as long as their border, which kind of goes back and forth, at times they kind of tighten it up, at times they loosen it up. So a lot of the guys from the U.S., they weren't sure when they were going to get back, because it was like they would kind of go back and forth where they're like, okay, we're going to let some traveling, we're going to not have any traveling. Once they decide that, then it'll be more of a thing, I guess.
I have to say, you're probably right now. I was always told around 35, 36 is when someone hits their quote-unquote peak,
Yeah.
as far as the knowledge and what the physical body can do at the same time. So is someone right now that's pretty much hitting, you're right in that age range, hitting that peak. I mean, was it the longest you've gone since you were a kid without working matches? How long did you, what was, maybe I should ask, how long was it in between physical matches for you when this corona started?
I mean, like, my schedule didn't change at all. The only thing
Where were you working?
So Impact's TVs, which as of a year and a half ago, I've been an every week guy for them. And
They didn't stop production though for a while with corona?
no, they kept going.
They were just doing the non-crowd tapings.
Yeah, they kept
Oh.
rolling. New Japan kept rolling. So every month I'd have a string of, I'd be in Nashville for a week for New Japan, or for Impact, and then I'd be in LA for half a week or so for New Japan, and then MLW had a big block of tapings around the end of summer, fall. There was a handful of independents that were still plugging away, so I got to do a few, like I did Warrior in Chicago, you know, a few others.
Well, they were doing were they socially distanced on like a football field or something like that?
They tried the football stadium type one, the football field one. That was pretty cool, and I think they got a lot of traffic as far as broadcasting it, because they'll do like, you know, I think like IWTV or Fight TV, those types of things. But yeah, for me, I mean, for the most part, other than the like local, like regional events being cutting back and coming off the schedule, everything else was the same. So I never really had like a whole lot of time off. Like I was still working most of the month.
So I guess I'll ask, what do you remember how long the gap was? Or even was there much of one?
I didn't have.
Did you have more than a couple of weeks off even when this began?
Yeah,
really?
No.
Wow.
Like I think my last indie date was literally on the day that they said we're shutting everything down. Because I remember it was in Las Vegas, and everybody was like, "Wow, they're actually going to shut the strip down like tonight." And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." And that was like March, I don't know, 15th or something like that. And like I had Impact like, I don't know, a week later that week. So I didn't have like any gap at all. The longest gap I've ever had is probably like maybe sometime when I would be injured or something, like in my early days in New Japan or something. I might have gotten injured and had to take, I don't know, a month off or something like that. So.
Oh, so you've held up pretty good then.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a time where I didn't touch a ring at least some point within 8 weeks. Yeah.
So the coronavirus really, other than the fact that you didn't have really human beings observing what you were doing,
Right.
It really didn't change all that much for you.
No, not at all. And I don't really get out much. I'm kind of a homebody, so I spend all my time either.
Where you live? You just like to
You would
stay
think so.
indoors?
Yeah.
Really?
Not much, you know, like having relocated the last few years to Vegas, you'd think, but it's not really, you know, I kind of went out there because it can be kind of like a nice, quiet, and desolate city if you want it to. It's a saloon town, you know? You can have a nightlife every day and be like that if you want, or you could be like, you know, the quiet cowboy life, kind of just out in the desert, and it's slow and easy, and the airport is so quiet and easy, and that's really,
It is an easy airport.
that's really why I liked it. That's why I bought a house out there, you know. And so for me, I mean, I sit inside and watch. It was a bummer when sports weren't on for a while.
Oh.
That was the worst part. Because I spend all day sitting inside watching sports and playing video games and working out. I have a gym in my house, so I don't even go to like a gym down the street either. So for me, work stayed the same, so therefore my life stayed the same.
Nothing really changed.
My work is my life.
Other than the fact you needed to wear a mask.
Yes, that's it. And I'd never go out. And a lot of the places where I would go, they weren't, you know, Nevada's a little bit Wild West-ish. So, I mean, they're not exactly the Florida of the West, but like they didn't always even enforce that. There were times where I didn't even realize that there was something going on because I live pretty slow anyway. So if I went to the grocery store, sometimes they wouldn't care. Or if I, you know, went to Walmart or something for like something I needed around the house, I mean, you wouldn't. Sometimes I just forgot that it was even happening.
Really?
Because I'm such a vampire.
Are you near the strip itself?
Yeah, I'm about, let's see, like my front door is like 8 minutes from the MGM.
Oh, wow, okay.
Before the rest of my neighborhood was built, because it was like the house and the neighborhood itself was brand new construction. I remember I used to be able to look out one of my third-story windows. I could see the MGM from before the other houses got built.
Oh, well, they blocked your view.
They screwed it up, yeah.
So you must be really close to the airport then.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
one
that's
exit.
great.
Yeah, I could leave 15 minutes before I board.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, I almost missed my flight here because I pushed it a little too
Did you?
a little too much, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I mean, for those that love Vegas like I do, it must have been odd, though, to see it turn into a virtual.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the best way to ask it is,
to see the
did it
lights off.
become a ghost town?
Yeah, to see the lights off was a little weird. You know, you land, if I'd get home at night or something like that, and I'd go from the airport back to my house, you basically cross the strip on the way back, and just to see everything off was off-putting, you know. Or if I had to go do something, like I was going to go eat somewhere or whatever. Willie Mack lives on the north end of the city, so I have to basically trace the strip all the way up to his neighborhood, and if I was going there, I'd just see all the hotels are all off, you know, Wynn, Bellagio, Caesars, all the lights are off, and that was weird.
Were there even like anything? Was there anything open on the strip? Because I know they were trying to keep the traffic away from what I would read.
I don't think so. At one point, And it wasn't for long that it got to that point, but like there was a period of time where I think the north and south end of the strip, they just barricaded the street just so you don't try and drive through there for no reason.
You guys kind of reopened in, was it June?
Yeah, something like that. Honestly, I kind of lost track of the dates.
Well, yeah, because
I never do anything.
You, it really didn't bother you
I never
all
did.
that
I never
much,
do
yeah.
anything. So when I don't really like. I don't have like a big infrastructure in Vegas either. So it's not like I have like a lot of friends who are always going out. Like everybody I know there is similar to me. Or it's other wrestlers and they might not go out very much, or they have their own families and stuff like that. So like when it was like bars, clubs, restaurants is open, the strip is open, we almost didn't know because it was like, oh, well, we kind of forgot that it was closed because we never go there. But I remember like, it was like Arash Markazi and like some like sports, coverage were talking about the casinos reopening because I want to say it was like, so if it was around that time, maybe because like Summer League basketball and stuff was going to be able to come back to the city. So they were covering it like,
Well, I don't even remember. Did that even wind up happening?
I think they did Summer League, yeah.
They did Summer League? Oh, but no, didn't they do everything in the bubble in Orlando?
The league, yes.
The league, but the Summer League, they did do some
I want to
games
say
out in Vegas?
I want to say they still did some of the smaller stuff where they'll do like in the city, like
that's right
the
around
non-official stuff.
That's right around Fight Week for UFC, isn't it? I think.
Maybe, but everything got changed
yeah.
because of the delay. But yeah, I remember that when it started opening, that's how I kind of first knew, was I saw sports coverage of it. They were like, oh, these locations might now start to be available for things. And I was like, oh, wow.
I was trying to stay up to date because of the Cauliflower Alley Club reunion, which has been now pushed
a lot of people had
three
asked,
times now.
Yeah, a lot of people had asked about that. Vegas was always a big cauliflower city. So.
Well, you know what? You may be booked. The week that it's going to take place in September is going to be the week of the 15th, so I don't know if you're going to be able to attend.
Oh, yeah, it'll be Baby James's debut.
Oh, he already has a name?
He has a name.
No T involved.
I gave him my middle name.
All right.
So, and James is my middle name, so I kind of just turned it inside out. So he's a reverse new name.
He's not going to be JTP.
Well, that's up to him. Yeah, but he will be.
Oh, you're not going to give him a middle name?
Oh, no, his middle name is my first name, but my middle name is his first name.
Oh, so his initials will be JTP.
Yeah, I'm Teddy.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm
yeah.
Teddy James. He's James Teddy.
Oh, yeah. I like that. That's unique.
Yeah.
So you're excited about that?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
I tell you, it is. You think the wrestling world is crazy when you have the munchkins running around. I wouldn't like it, as I told you before we were taping. My ex's little one is going to be coming down to see his first Mania, and just I'm excited. Not that I'm happy to go. I like the ambiance.
Yeah.
But for him to see through his eyes for the first time, his first WrestleMania, I think that'll be really cool. But I mean, that could be said for everything. Their first Halloween, their first Christmas, once they're old enough to realize what Santa Claus means.
What I was really excited about, I was telling Baby James's his mom, my fiance, I was telling her that we're having him at a unique time because, like, we're gonna have him for all the great stuff. Like all in a row, like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, it's all coming like, so I mean, he won't remember it, but it's like, for us, it's like,
for
wow,
you, yeah. Think of the photos and videos
first time
you can
parents,
take now,
like we get to test run it before he's old enough to be, an insane human being in our lives.
Oh man, it's going to be interesting to see how you react as far as what you want to do with your schedule goes once you have the little one around, because you have to leave them in that car. It's not a great feeling.
I've had a unique rough draft for it with my pigs.
With your what?
I have 2 pet pigs.
Oh, I thought you were talking about former females for a second.
No. I got 2 baby pigs, and they their speed of life and their like requirement for care is similar to a toddler.
Those pigs need a lot of care, I guess.
Well, it's like...
You know what? I think actually, yeah, at one point, did you put a picture on one of your social medias with the pigs?
Yeah.
No, why do you have pet pigs?
Well, so I was never a pet person before. Mm-hmm. And I had a significant other, years prior that like I would be gone all the time. So they really wanted to get a dog, and I was never a pet person. So I said, okay, well, if you want that, then you got to find something that. And I was in WWE, so like my schedule, I'd be home for 3 days a week. I was like, I can't handle like upkeep if it's a lot, and I can't handle energy if it's a dog that has a lot of energy. So you got to pick something that'll kind of. I know that narrows it down a lot, but you got to find something.
Right.
You know, I said, maybe like a pug or like a bulldog or something that's sort of a lazy dog, and I'll handle like if it has a little bit of upkeep or whatever. And that's how we kind of came on to mini pigs, because they're hypoallergenic and they're kind of lazy, and it's kind of like and they're really smart, and their emotional capacity is really high. Turns out it's like having a toddler, so it's about the most amount of work I could possibly do. But I fell in love with them. Now I'm a totally different person regarding pets. My fiance has 2 dogs, and
oh wow!
So now the family's
You're really gonna be having a big family out in Vegas.
I mean they're small dogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, but with the pigs, it's not like with dogs you can leave their food and water out and kind of be gone for the day. And you're really pushing it if it's like 24 hours you eat, and then you got to get like a dog sitter, But with pigs, it's like having a toddler. You can't leave food because they'll eat it all at once. They have no capacity for taking care of it or rationing it. If there's 2 of them, they're not going to share. Like one will just eat all of it and they'll fight over it, So, it's like having a kid. They need constant attention. They need 3 meals a day. You can't leave them alone, for more than a couple hours. Like they'll nap and stuff like normal. Otherwise, they need somebody to watch them.
So when you're on the road on tour, what do you do with who watches them? A neighbor or
family and just friends, people like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the pigs are never too lonely.
Can
you take them for a walk down the street?
Some you can. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yours or are they home kids?
I had a double-seated stroller for them when they were little, but. They're not
too big now.
Yeah, and they're rambunctious. Like they're not. I don't want to say they're not people persons, but like they don't like the harness and the leash. So they for the most part, they have their own floor of the house.
They have their own floor of the home.
Yeah,
you really went all out.
Yeah, I gave them their own space. They're spoiled, but they don't have to get out much.
How big are they? Do you know how much they weigh?
Yeah, the boy. The last time he got sick and had to go to the vet last year. He weighed in at about 50 pounds.
Oh, so that's not a small pet.
Well, they're really dense though. So it's like they don't. The girl is kind of big, but not like a Great Dane, but like if you had like a big bulldog, about here, like she's pretty big, and might be like 75, 100 pounds maybe. But it's just because they're so thick.
Yeah.
They're built like tanks. The boy is not that big. He's like this big, So he's like a middle-sized dog maybe if you were to compare. But he's just so dense, so he's thick.
Where did you get the idea? Now you've got me so curious about these pigs.
I don't know. I guess it's. I don't want to say it's a trend because a lot of people still don't know about it. But I don't know. Maybe a bunch of hipster kids decided to learn how to take care of pigs. But we caught on to it and learned about it. And there's a whole community. Like if you go on Instagram and stuff like that, they have like all the pig owners have pages for their pigs, and their pigs are all friends and things. So.
Britt, now have you ever brought your pigs out to meet new pig friends?
No, I've never traveled with them like that.
Again, isn't it awful? My brain, every time we say this, is going back to my mind, like a hotel scene after the wrestling events in the 80s. But I've been around wrestling too long. These pigs are bringing me everywhere. But anyway, wrestling fans, we're going to take a brief time out. We'll be back talking pro wrestling, coronavirus, Las Vegas, pets, and more. You never know what to expect. Stand by.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
As the Demon, he became the first WWE Universal Champion at SummerSlam 2016. Here's your chance to own this limited edition collector's autographed art print, personally signed by Finn Balor, one of only 50 made, direct from our friends at WWE. Also signed by original artist Rob Schamberger. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome collectible for your wrestling collection now.
Cheer. Why, hello. I would ask what was on your mind, but I already know. You want to know what has got my beard looking oh so majestic. And I'll tell you, it's sexy as hell beard care. Coconut oil, vitamin E oil, almond oil, both sweet and bitter, shea butter, it's all natural. Yes, JTG has actually come out with a high quality product. So support your boy by going to sahbeardcare.com and take one step closer to becoming sexy as hell. Cheer. Ooh, cheer. You know?
Wrestling fans, we are back with another engaging conversation with one of the elite athletes in professional wrestling, a man I don't understand why isn't going to be rocking Raymond James Stadium on April 10th or 11th, or maybe you can do it in October. I don't know. Tampa has Raymond James. We have Teddy James. So there you go.
There we go.
So we were talking about life in Las Vegas, talking a little bit about the pets and so on. You know, one thing I didn't even know about until within the past couple of days when everybody wants the scoop at the last minute. Oh, who's coming this day? Who's coming that day? So, well, TJP's coming on whatever time. I don't even remember we booked for today. But they said, oh, he's got all kinds of heat on. I said, what happened? See, it's like, I don't know. I've got so much going on.
Pick a day. It's something new every day.
You have heat on the internet because of your thoughts on your opinions
Anything.
on COVID and masks?
On anything, yeah.
What is this all about?
I mean, generally speaking, I think people just, a lot of people just want to find something to not like before.
But why?
I think it's just a lot of the people that didn't want me to beat Ibushi in the Cruiserweight Classic. Man, that was rough.
Really? That's what turned the world against you.
I mean, I'm sure that at this point it's like a snowball thing where some people don't even know why they hate me. They just know, like, maybe they came into it halfway through the game and they're like, oh, we hate this guy? Yeah, we hate this guy. But man, the world turned pretty hard that day. I remember I went from people really loving that I was in it, people loving that I was killing it, but it's like I'm not their guy, so it's like don't do too good. And then it was like I went Tom Brady on the playoffs on them and just won everything. And then they're like, okay, now we hate you. And I remember the finals. I came in every night, and it was great. And then the night of the semifinals and finals, and I kind of saw where it was going. I came out. They were chanting the F word at me and the non-tolerant one, and I was like, "Wow, this is."
And this is it. Full Sail University.
Yeah, you could actually
really?
at the start of the Ibushi match, you could hear them. There's like maybe about a dozen people.
They were saying "fuck TJP" or
no, the other F word. Yeah.
Bundle sticks.
The 2-syllable F word.
Let's move on.
Yeah, so you could hear it on the programming a little bit, and then everybody drowns out everything with booze, and it got pretty bad. So like a lot of the time.
Oh, the gay slur?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty.
It took me a minute.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And yeah,
wow, that's heat.
Yeah,
that's like Jim Cornette would be proud.
So it's funny because in the ring, when they gave me the title, Hunter and Regal had kind of said, we congratulations. This is the reason why we put you here. And I remember thinking, why? Because I almost lost all these people. But Regal had kind of said, he's like, one of the reasons we knew we had to go with you is because you're the only guy that could handle something like that. And he's like, if these people turned on anybody else, they might have crumbled, Which isn't to say that all the other performers are like weak performers or anything like that, or even weak-spirited. But they said that we knew you had the metal for this sort of thing. And reintroducing cruiserweights and mixing diehard fans with casual fans in a company that doesn't traditionally support that sort of thing. They knew that was going to sort of be a polarizing thing, and people were going to fantasy book it and fight over it and all that. And they're like, if anybody was going to get thrown to the wolves and not get eaten, we had faith that you'd be able to do it. So there was that. But I then spent the next few years with, God, everybody wanted me, because I didn't crumble and that, they're like, we got to get this guy out. So it was like, how can we paint him to be a bad, like, man, there were so many fake nudes leaked of me, or just a rumor about this and that. It's just like,
Just for the record, they're all fakes that are out there.
yes.
All right.
And every week I had to go to the office and be like, I'm sorry, can you guys, like, and they're like, yeah, we'll
I
handle
mean,
it.
what do you
Don't
do in
worry.
a situation like that? Yeah, were you having fake nudes
Well,
leaked?
I came-
Believe it or not, no one's ever done that to me. But
I came to find out that every single week, the PR department and talent relations has to handle that for like half the roster.
really? Okay,
And
so it's not an unusual
they're so
thing.
good at it that you never even realize that this is how much stuff is going on. Because I remember I remember going the first time and being like, sorry, like, I know everybody's saying this or showing that and it's not a thing and here's where it comes from or whatever. And they're like, don't worry, we'll handle it. And they kind of let in on it, like, we have to do this every week because there's somebody that's trying to smear half the women's roster or this or that.
Or
And
an
it's like,
X. Or,
yes, and they like, we have to deal with this all the time. So they were really great about it. So that was pretty cool.
So maybe you must have been a little embarrassed at first until you realized it was so commonplace?
No,
or-
I just feel bad because they wanted me to be a leader, and like a lot of, like, some of the younger people, the older people on the roster, they get it. Like, they've lived life up there for a while now. The younger people on the roster, especially a lot of the other cruiserweights, I mean, they're almost halfway still fans themselves. So a lot of them, like, they looked at it like all these things are real and they want to get caught up in the drama, and still like a school lunchroom to them, So I felt bad because it's like, I'm meant to lead these guys, and in a way they're still kind of like kids, and they're not going to look at me like a leader because they want to be part of the drama in it. And so I felt bad for those reasons. But yeah, like, it seemed like that was kind of the start of what can we pin on this guy because we don't like him. But I mean, I am very independent minded and rebellious at times. I don't think I cause trouble, but I don't follow the train. So like, like with like the COVID stuff, a lot of it is snowballed because people want the message to be bad, but like, it's mostly just me asking questions and wanting people to, hey, like, don't be too judgmental and like open your mind up about it. Not all of this stuff is as it seems. And a lot of it comes from me coming from a medical family. My sister's a doctor. My grandfather was a doctor. Yeah, cousins or nurses, EMTs, and stuff like that. So from the beginning, I remember my sister a year ago told me this is where we will be, and I said, what's the deal? Like, do we need to quarantine, masks, and all this stuff? And she told me from like March of last year, like the week that we locked down, she's like, this isn't going to do anything. Nobody in the medical industry really thinks that this is going to fix it. It's just what has been decided from a pay grade above us. In the end, we're all going to just have to get medicine and vaccines just like the flu. And every year we're going to have to keep doing it, and that's where we'll be. And, people are going to get sick and people are going to die and all that, and it sucks and it's a tragedy, but it's not diminishing it. It's just kind of looking at it realistically, like, this is probably what's really going to fix it. Because, human nature, nobody's going to do everything perfectly, right? And, like, quarantines and masks and stuff like that, it's like expecting to stop a river with your bare hands. Like, you're not gonna adjust the current of nature. Like, it's gonna work its way through where it wants to go. But I think that a lot of people, it's mostly like, it's not so much what did TJ say, we don't like that. It's TJ said something, I bet we're not gonna like it. And so it's like, let's not like it, So a lot of it is that. But
I think we should all be entitled to an opinion over something, I mean, I think there's only a few select people that really grasp what the impact has been on, no pun intended, the impact has been on the entire world. But, you come from a medical family of
medical family,
people, medical personnel in it. I think that should hold a little water to it. I think a lot of it is, not that I am any expert in this field whatsoever, but I think a lot of it has been media hype because it's sexy. It's just like Trump. It's something that's going to keep people's eyeballs on the article or the news show or whatever it is that may be the point of contention at the time. And, I think human beings are able to think and read. And
and I mean, like, a common question I would ask, because I don't like to tell people what to think. That's the other thing, too, is like, a lot of it is like, somebody's opinion of somebody else's opinion of somebody else's opinion of me. It's not really like they even, because a lot of times I'll ask, well, what is it? if it's a total stranger, like what is it that maybe you have a problem with, and they can never tell me why. They're like, I'm just pretty sure you think and this and this and this, and it's like, I don't think you know me at all. But a common question, because I don't like to tell people, and I'll tell them I don't like to tell anybody what to think. Like I just want people to ask their own questions. You can think whatever you want. In fact, I would rather not spend my time telling you what to think, because I'd rather spend my time with my family and stuff like that. And I suggest you do the same. Don't tell me what to think. Go do your thing. Live your life. You know. But like in regards to what you had said, like one of the questions that I like to ask people is like, you know, the flu kills 60,000 people every year.
And that's not blasted on your television.
And that's
screen
with a
every day.
vaccine. We have a vaccine, but we consider that controlled. So we started locking people in their homes and having them go bankrupt and not working their jobs when only 15,000 people had died, you know, statistically, and it's probably wasn't even that much, you know. And it's like, well, we lose 60,000 people every year. I'm not saying that one death is acceptable. That's
right.
It's not.
Right.
But I mean, you know, no society has like a murder rate of 0, for example. Like that's never happened. So it's like, is it acceptable? No. But rationally speaking, you have to have a certain acceptance of what life is. But I always just kind of ask, like, if you're very concerned, how come we all weren't as concerned about all these other things that hurt us and are perceivably controllable, you know?
And I think that is the media hype behind it.
Yeah.
Where you have that scare thrown into you every single night, whether you're watching the news, reading a newspaper, reading one of the popular news websites or something like that. When they're throwing that horror in your face, I mean, there's a lot of people that, for whatever the reason, I think are led to believe you have to believe everything that's presented to you on the media. And I've had this argument with relatives and so on and so forth, and that it's not always true. Their main goal is not to provide you with 100% accurate information. It is to keep your eyeballs tuned on their platform to watch their advertising so they can get as much income as possible.
They want you to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want you to fight. And that's the thing. And you know, a common thing I'll get is, well, I don't like your views. But it's like, I don't really have a lot of views, to be honest. I don't even vote. I've never voted in my life.
Really?
So when people are like, you're
a true independent.
You're super this or that. I'm like, guys, I've literally never casted a vote in my life. You know, I like to be able to ask questions but that's not to say I'm not educated. You know, I follow things, I learn things, and I do as much reading and try to keep up on like the latest literature of how the world is and all that. But I don't have a flag to plant, and I think that what you had just mentioned is a lot of the strife comes down to virtue signaling. You know, and that's the thing is, if I have any view, I'm very anti-virtue signaling, because that's us asking to fight with each other. You know,
right.
So if your goal is to close the division, eliminate division as much as you can, then like you're contributing to it by virtue signaling, because you're either saying, I'm going to overpower you with what I'm virtue signaling until you see it my way, which is not the healthiest way to end division, you know, or, you know, you're promoting other people to continue fighting over it. And so it's like, and that's why I beg the question about, like, you know, the flu or like, you know, driving deaths or anything like that. I'm like, guys, there's a lot of stuff that if you're concerned about safety, there's a lot of stuff you didn't have to start now, you know. And
there's a lot of worries in the world outside of coronavirus too.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of stuff, you know, on the opposite side, you know, because then people will, a lot of times people pivot to emotional blackmail. Like, you know, oh, you think it's realistic to only care to this extent? Well, tell that to the people that have died. But it's like, well, you tell it to the people that have committed suicide during quarantine. Like, what about them? You know, like there's no positive side of it. You guys are just fighting with each other. And and you know, doing that, like emotional blackmail and like guilt tripping people, that's not a healthy discourse either. So that's usually why I'll ask questions like, guys, if you really are concerned about these things, like open your mind up about that. I'm not trying to tell you to believe in like like people think that like if you're counter to the narrative, then that's the other thing. They roll you into every other stereotype. You must be a flat earther and you must be this and that. And I'm like, God, That's not anything that I said or think. And you know, even the stuff that we do, I don't necessarily believe that they're you know, in regards to COVID, I didn't always necessarily believe that they are suitable solutions. Doesn't mean I didn't do it anyway, you know. And that's what I'll tell people too, like, oh, you're an anti-masker. No, I'm not. Like, I ask questions because I don't necessarily believe in it.
Well, I'm going to ask the tough question right now. Were you wearing a mask in any
Oh
point?
yeah,
All
that's what I would tell people. I'd
This
say,
is
like,
our Oprah moment.
yeah, asking those questions and, like, you know, choosing to think about it independently, just so you know, your own edification, which I encourage everybody to do. That has no bearing on your ability to simply follow directions. I've been wearing masks for years. Like, even in, like, it started in Japan. So, you know, I went to Japan at a young age, and it's very common over there. If you have a cold or allergies or something, you have a cough, you just wear masks. Last Super Juniors tag tournament, when I was over there in November of 2019, right before we did your show in Boston, I spent the early part of the fall there in October, November. I was wearing a mask because I had bad allergies, so I didn't want to cough in people's faces, just to be, to be polite. I have no disbelief in it, just in regards to, like, the general usage, So I'd take 9 COVID tests per month for the various companies. I wear masks whenever I'm asked to. I sit and stand at the distance I'm asked to. I have no issue with
6 feet apart.
I have no issue with doing these things, because I don't think that a one-person crusade in that moment is going to change anything, And again, I don't believe in changing people's minds. I just believe in trying to understand it as best I can. So that's where I think lies the problem. When you're too much of a virtue signaler, that doesn't matter. It's just, you asked a question, go to jail. It's like, that's how it is. But
I don't see how anyone that could hear you speak as intelligently and thoughtfully as you do could have the quote-unquote heat. And for it to go back to a wrestling match, I think is even crazier. Was there an attachment to him that I'm unaware of? Because he wasn't a regular in NXT, was he?
He did
I don't
some
think
NXT.
he was there at all, really.
I think the thing
outside
comes
of
from
a few shots.
So, like, Coda's a wonderful performer, once in a generation. He's very rare, and he's fantastic. He's since become a good friend of mine when I'm traveling and stuff. We would love to do the match again. It's one of his favorite matches he's ever done. He told me a lot of his fans, that's one of their favorite matches that he's had, which I think is pretty humbling, because he's had some amazing matches in these big companies and stuff. So we're kind of like Rocky and Apollo in that way. But I think that it's like part of what people respect me a lot for, like ushering in that generation and that was a major moment in history. And I remember thinking this before I went into it, because I didn't really want to stay in WWE. I thought, okay, well, I kind of want to do Lucha Underground and go back to Japan and do some other stuff. I'd just gotten out of Impact. I'd only been free 6 months, maybe a year. And I was like, I don't know that I would want to stay here. Because I had previously had, like, when I was homeless, I was trying to go to WWE. Like, I had times where I had an opportunity to go there, and I would see, they would tell me, like, like, I would get the door slammed in my face on the grounds of, we have our one Evan Bourne, we have our TJ Wilson, our Tyson Kidd. We don't need a second one. And so I was like, okay, that's what I am. That's what this is. So I kind of lost, and I never had this great goal to go there. I grew up a WWF kid, sure, like everybody else, but I always really wanted to do the Super J Cup and go to New Japan, and that ended up being my first company, so that's always been home to me. And I loved Impact. It became a home to me as I got older too. I was a teenager there as well. So it's not like I really wanted to stay in WWE, but I knew that was an important moment in history for wrestling culture, because that company has always been the old guard of, we are not going to cater to that part of the greater wrestling culture. Wrestling culture is us, not anything outside of here. And the small guy and the independent guy, all that's what this moment represented, And so even if you look at NXT, they had a small handful of guys that were like, if you're part of like the diehard wrestling community, that was your guy, like a Finn Balor maybe, and Seth Rollins had gotten in and become like a top guy there. Kevin and Sammy had just kind of got in and had been there about a year or two or whatever, and they were kind of working their way up the card. There wasn't a lot of representation for the community though, And so when they said, we are going to do an entire network special, an entire pay-per-view, an entire summer-long tournament that's all your guys, and they're all the small working guys, that was that was the hill for every diehard fan to die on. We're going to war now. We got to get them to love this. And the company did love it. The problem was they wanted different generals from the diehard community. And the company said, this is going to be the general. And they said, no, we want Zack Saber's our general. Kota Ibushi's our general. And they said, no.
Why weren't you the general?
I think that I've never really loved the wrestling community a whole lot.
How do you really feel?
Well, and let me rephrase that. I don't say that in regards as a way of pseudo saying I hate the wrestling community. I don't. I've never looked at it as they're more important, and I feel like they consider that community, because again we're talking about subcultures of subcultures of subcultures. They consider themselves the underdog of the culture. We're the diehards. We're ECW. We love it more than casual fans. And it's I don't think that that's the case. I think you're important, but you're as important as the casual fan and vice versa. And the family oriented and the attitude fans and all of it together. It's all together. And I never liked that division, and I never liked how they can kind of turn fans away by being elitists.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that.
Superior, So I think in that regard, every time, and I think it's hard for them because the common theme is I really hate that guy, but he's so good in the ring. And for the record, I don't think I'm so good in the ring. I think I am whatever I am in the ring, and that's it. I don't believe there's levels to this. I don't believe there's such a thing as the greatest wrestler in the world, because you can either do this job or you can't. If you can do it, then you go out and you work every day. And if you work every day, whatever you did that day, it either worked for people or it didn't work for people. It's pass or fail. It's not A, B, C, D, or F. So I don't believe you can make a top 10 or a 5 or a Mount Rushmore or anything like that. I don't believe that exists, because it's all subjective. So
I agree with you on that part, right?
Yeah. So
it is all subjective.
So I've never tried to lean into the diehard fans, even though I come in a package that looks like I would be one of their guys, and a lot of times,
exactly. You think you'd be one of the prototypes. You know what I mean?
And I feel the energy they used to give me felt like that's what they wanted, because first time going to Impacts and Ring of Honor and different places, they would treat me like who's this guy, and fuck yeah this guy, and blah blah blah, and I had their vote. But I just never reached back and said, "Oh, thank you. I really wanted your vote." It was more like "Thank you," but
maybe
okay.
I'm going to word this wrong. But do you think they wanted a little ass kissing in return, maybe? Or
I do think that they wanted they want to be pandered to a little bit, as any audience wants to be pandered to.
Sure.
And I just think because I didn't want to pander to that, and I don't like following colloquialisms and stereotypes. What they think their favorite wrestler is, I don't try to be that. But I also don't try to be that for casual fans either, But the difference is casual fans, they don't have that same superiority, and they don't cast you out because you don't pander to them. They just might not like you as much.
Yeah.
But some of the diehard fans are so passionate that it's you're either with us or you're against us. And I was like, I'm not your I'm a soldier. I'm not your soldier. And so it's well, fuck you then.
Well, I got to tell you, I think we've gone way overboard time-wise on this one, especially with the wallet situation. But, I really want to hear it from you guys. If you are not a fan of TJP, I want to know why. If you're watching the live premiere, we have the premiere box going. Put in a message. What's wrong with them? Don't forget to tip the bartender. The super chat is open. If you watch this interview after the fact, leave a message in the comment section below, because I'm honestly interested. I have to say, and I love to engage with you guys in private. I'm not the world's biggest people person. I don't know if that's a Virgo thing or what. In person, I'm really not, because the days of wrestling endeavors, I'm usually very stressed out and tense, because I want you guys to have the best, whether it be live event, interview, and so on possible. But again, as someone that's not a huge people person, I genuinely like him an awful lot. He's very smart. He's very well spoken. I think he's one of the better wrestlers in the ring of this generation. I want to know what you guys don't like. I am fascinated by this discussion. But again, we're running out of time. For my friend TJP, I'm Dan Marty. We'll be back soon with another episode of Wrestling Insider Special Edition. You and yours, stay well, stay healthy, mask or without. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York, Wednesday, May the 5th, 1982. In the opening contest, Frank Williams beat Mac Rivera. Lee Wong with the win over Tony Altamore via disqualification. WWF Tag Team Champion Mr. Saito defeated Tony Gurria. Pat Patterson victorious over Jesse the Body Ventura. And in the main event, the WWF Intercontinental Champion Pedro Morales retained the title over WWF Tag Team Champion Mr. Fuji. If you were in Long Island live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view, watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.